It was right in front of me. It was my community. It was there. There was no big, it's like we walk backwards in life, and hopefully it's a nice direction. So, okay, so the things that are common to the three stories I showed you, and then I'll show you something from Art and Copy, is risking failure, speaking with a true personality, saying something that is really you, seeing things in a new way, like changing, like reinventing something, and hard work. That none of these were just easy. Kurt Cobain didn't just all of a sudden get up there and play that. There's a lot going on. Okay, so I'm going to, the one last point is this. So my point is creativity is a process. It's this long, it's a journey. It's not a thing. So I'm going to play one more clip now. I have a few more to play. This is actually from the movie Art and Copy. And I think if you think about the things that we just talked about, you'll see how now in advertising, the same exact kind of thinking is true. So look for those same kind of traits. This is about a 2-minute clip from early on in Art and Copy.
Bill Bernbach added an entire new creative force to advertising by putting the art director in the same room as the copywriter. That had never been done before. At J. Walter, my copy would be taken up one floor to the art director, who would make an ad out of my copy. We'd never discuss it. Art directors had no input in terms of the thinking. When Bernbach said, hey, art director, me copywriter, you guys work it out together from a blank sheet of paper.
Volkswagen is the most famous one, of course. This little German car that everybody disliked because it was too close after the war. Nobody thought a little ugly German car would sell. He just turned that into the hottest, chicest, coolest car around. He had an ability to see how you could just cut right through a tradition that was getting in the way of a product and turn it around and make it a positive thing.
So obviously, there's creativity on the management level too. So Bill Bernbach, who really, with DDB, really started the great creative revolution in advertising in the 60s. It was so radical, his thinking. And the other thing I want to say is that it's not just creatives who can be creative. It's management. It's everything. It's everybody in a situation can put other people in better situations. So Bill Bernbach says, all right, let's try this a different way. We've been doing it this way for 30, 40 years. Let's put the art director and the copywriter together, and kablam. The entire creative revolution explodes. And all of a sudden, all the agencies in New York are doing this, and this is still lasting today, the effects of that one creative move. But the other thing, of course, which I don't need to elaborate on too much, is how genius it is to take a problem and turn it into a solution. It's just so genius. This, like, as she said, I'm just repeating her, like this ugly little German car trying to sell in the United States just after World War II. And they just go, well, wait a minute, it's beautiful. It's this little tiny car. And so it has this whole social statement as well. All of the cars were big. They were all giant. They were all saying, we're big, we're big, we're big, we're big. And they're like, hey, we're really little. That's pretty cool. Really worked. So all of the things are true with that. They risked failure, because that could have been a miserable campaign. They challenged the status quo, which is a theme we'll talk about even more in a minute. It also brings up a new element of great creativity, is that it's entertaining. The way that brilliant artwork was just this big white page with this little tiny car. Can you imagine going through the magazine in whatever, I think it was 59. They're going through, it's like big car, lots of color, lots of text, big car, lots of color, lots of text. All of a sudden there's this white. So it doesn't matter if you're going small or big or loud or quiet or anything. It's just, it's so brilliantly beautiful to be different. Some days, you know, a lot of times commercials today, I really listen to them when they're just quiet. You're like, oh, wow. I'm listening now because it's quiet. So anyway, that's important. Another theme I'm going to bring up that we'll see in the next clip too is this idea that great advertising is often incredibly simple. The message is really, really simple. Think small. It's the entire campaign. Just do it. And in the United States, I don't think you have Got Milk here, but the huge campaign in the United States. Got Milk? One of the biggest, most successful campaigns in the U.S. Where's the beef? Just like, you know, Cliff Freeman came, you know. It's always so simple. And I think that we feel the same way about art, and I think we feel the same way about music. You know, Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, there's a simplicity to the message. And I think it really is true in great advertising. Another thing that we're going to talk about with the next clip, but I'm just introducing a few more ideas, is this idea of having a directness with the client. Of course, in the 1960s, they were able to work directly with Volkswagen. And things are different now. We have like hundreds of committees and companies, and it's just like, it's very complicated in advertising and in the corporate world today. But a lot of the people in art and copy, they benefited from the idea that they could just work directly with a client. And what a benefit it was, because it was just so simple. It was like they knew them, it was a personal relationship, great things could happen. So obviously Volkswagen was smart enough, or I don't know the nature of the relationship they had, but Volkswagen was cool enough or smart enough to say, okay, we trust you, we trust your advertising. And it's not like they just came out with that one night. It built up to this, but this was some of the greatest work. And then the final thing that I've mentioned before is the idea that great advertising, almost across the board and throughout history, the best advertising actually tells the truth. There's some truthful thing to it. And I know we're always saying like, oh, it's advertising, ha, 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 truth in advertising, ha. It's like the biggest joke, right? The best campaigns, though, are truthful. There's a lot of truth in this campaign for Volkswagen. I mean, it's a simple truth because it's a small car, and they just say it's a small car. But it's also truthful that they were not number one. They were not big. They were not able to compete at all. And so there's an honesty in that statement, there's sort of a self-deprecation that's really powerful. It really worked. And I think you'll see in a lot of, you know, in these other campaigns. So I'm going to play one more clip now. This is another clip from Art and Copy. I hope you don't mind. I'm just showing you parts of the movie, but to make these points. So this one is about George Lois, who is in New York. He did all the advertising for Tommy Hilfiger, and this is how he introduced him. So if you'll watch, this is about 4 minutes long, and then we'll analyze it with the same kind of 7 characteristics and see if it works.
He had just recently developed the launch ads for MTV, and he developed this advertising campaign to introduce an unknown to the world of fashion overnight, and he did it. He said, I've got an idea. Why don't we put a picture of Ralph Lauren? He's an old guy with white hair. Calvin Klein, looks a little craggy, and maybe Halston, he's dead. And then we'll say, you're the next. And I said, well, you can't compare me to Ralph Lauren and Calvin Klein. I mean, I can't compare myself. It'll sound like I'm bragging or something. You know, I like to view myself as looking at those guys as the gods.
So I show them an ad, and it says, the 4 great American designs for men are, and then it said C dash dash dash, you know, you had to fill in the name, Calvin Klein, the other one's R dash, you know, Ralph Lauren, P dash dash dash, Perry Ellis. Then I said T dash dash dash, H dash 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 dash. You know, who the hell knew who TH was? Tommy's mother didn't know.
I don't want any part of this.
Of course, Tommy saw it and almost had a heart attack. So I can't do that.
He sat me down and said, listen, if you want to have any name recognition in this business at all. You need millions of dollars worth of advertising over and over and over and over, and it'll take you years. If you want your name to be known right away and people to go and look at your clothes, we need something unique like this.
I always use the term seemingly outrageous. You should look at something and think it's a little crazy, and in the next 2 or 3 or 4 seconds or 20 seconds, you realize, wow, it's on the nose. You know, but the product better be damn good, because if the product isn't any good, I'll put it out of business. Because people will run and buy it and find it's a piece of shit.
I had sleepless nights because I was thinking this is gonna be the end of my career. And then every once in a while I would think, but maybe the name will become known, people will look at the clothes and like the clothes. The ads ran, people went crazy. All of 7th Avenue said, who does he think he is? He's no designer. Ralph and Calvin have been working